Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's poppin', fantasy champs?
What's up? You just got up, took a little walk right before the show?
Yeah, dude. I was going to leave you hanging there for a second. No, I was going to check to see if the camera was recording because I couldn't tell.
Oh. Sorry, I would have been able to do it.
He's like, I was
sponsored by Bubbly.
Yeah, dude, you don't have a Bubbly.
That's right. I would have just said sponsored by Bubbly. But people know.
Yeah, people know. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. Poppin' Rick.
What's going on, bro?
Today we're going to talk about some tight end rankings for the 2022 fantasy football season. But we're also going to give you, before that, a free agency update because there's been a lot of news floating around.
Oh, we just got a semi. It's not huge news, but
okay, hold on.
One of the receivers that the Patriots were rumored is off the market, and multiple teams are in on. I'm gonna hit the breaking news button for this.
Oh, wow!
I can't even hear it.
I can just cut that audio straight out of the podcast. But
okay.
Who is it?
It's Braxton Barrios. Has signed back with the Jets, 2 years, $12 million, 7 fully guaranteed. He was rumored to go to multiple teams, including the Dolphins, the Browns, and the Patriots.
Wow, really? You want me to try the breaking news button again?
Yeah, go for it. I could faintly hear that.
Yes, it didn't work. Anyway, so a lot of technical difficulties, I guess, today. Right before this, we recorded 6 minutes of an intro, and Zoom just crashed, and then Rick couldn't be heard. So we are struggling our way through this podcast today. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna have some free agency updates. Some are gonna be live on the show, and then we're gonna give you our top 5 tight end rankings. Try to keep this short and concise. You ready to get started, Rick?
Yep.
Ready to get started, Rick. Before we jump in, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on all social media platforms. Just type in the FF Champs. You'll find us. You can also follow us on Instagram individually.
Plug in the gram.
Lemon _FF, and mine's Morgan Colby _FF. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review, share this pod with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Click the bell for notifications, like, and then comment down below any questions you may have or updates you may have for this. I also want to preface, this show is recorded Monday. So
at 2 o'clock.
At 2 o'clock.
So we're only 2 hours into the tampering period, so we don't have too much.
Free agency signings, obviously. We are going to get to them. We pre-record our Thursday show as well, so most of our free agency updates over the next week are going to come on the Tuesday show next week. So please bear with us and keep that in mind. So let's jump into the free agency portion of the show right now. And I'm going to try to fix this audio. So, Rick, just ignore the buzzing.
Okay.
Just ignore the buzzing. More specific, because I'm just going to cut the buzzing out after. So, anyway. But can you give me your thoughts right now on the first guy that we're going to talk about, which is Chase Edmonds, and then the effects on the flip side. So we'll start with Chase Edmonds, James Conner. Okay. Chase Edmonds signed a contract with the Miami Dolphins. Can't remember the numbers, but you can go look
2 years, $12 million, I think.
Thank you. So you can look it up online, or Rick, the thesaurus of contracts, can tell you. So anyway, Chase Edmonds signs with the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, it's early in the offseason. We don't know if the Dolphins are going to go get another running back in free agency. There's been some rumors floating around. We have Melvin Gordon still out there. Not that they would sign another guy, but there's also some guys out there that have been rumored to be traded, i.e. Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey. So, it might not be done in Miami with the quarterback. With the running back position. But as we currently stand, what are your thoughts on that deal?
So, yeah, I do think that the Dolphins are going to do something else. I believe that they are probably going to draft a guy in day 2, maybe in the second or third round.
Yeah.
But if this is all they do, and they go into next year with Miles Trashcan and Chase Edmonds and who's the other guy, Jordan Howard?
Yeah.
Then Chase Edmonds, you're probably looking at a top 20 back in fantasy for PPR.
Mm-hmm.
In that, it's going to be the San Francisco offense. So they're going to use multiple running backs, which is gross.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also going to be kind of run heavy spread type offense, and it's going to be good for Chase Edmonds. It's exactly what he fits that role pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be the pass catching back as well. I think that's going to give him the most fantasy value. I think it's probably a little better than Arizona as it stands right now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I do think Miami's going to add somebody.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Most likely, I'm going to say it's through the draft.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I kind of look at Chase Edmonds as Trubisky. What is it? Not Trubisky, which is another guy that signed. But anyway, Tariq Cohen is also on the market, and I think Chase Edmonds is obviously better than Cohen. Cohen's been dealing with a lot of injuries, but Cohen's kind of like a gadget pass-catching running back. When he was with Chicago, I kind of view Chase Edmonds as that. The way a guy like Tua Tagovailoa plays, having a running back like Chase Edmonds makes sense for them, but it also, I don't think he can be a 3-down workhorse. So I feel like they're definitely going to go get somebody through the draft. What is his name? Mike McDaniel? That's the head coach?
Mike McDaniel.
He came from, he was OC of 49ers, right? Came from over there.
Yes.
Yeah, so he also comes from a 49er system where they usually like to use 2 or 3 running backs. I don't think for fantasy, like the running back position is going to be bad for Miami because the 49ers made it work with multiple guys. And, they had some effective running backs. So we'll see if Edmonds and, other people can kind of have success. But I will, like if Miami goes out and drafts a running back in the first 2 or 3 rounds of the draft, yes, a first round draft capital would be like, holy crap. Like that running back should probably be used on first sight. But if they draft somebody in the second or third round, I'm more apt to believe that guy's not going to be as effective as people initially had thought in the pre-draft rookie process, if that makes sense. So with that being said, if they don't do anything, I think Edmonds definitely should be in consideration for top 15. When he was by himself on the field, without James Conner and without Kenyon Drake in years past, he was actually a pretty effective running back. And if they choose to go with him in a, full workhorse role, if he holds up, which is another concern, health, but if he holds up under that role, I think the sky's the limit for him, and I think he could definitely be a top 15 guy. But if they bring somebody else in, I'm more kind of in the range. I don't know if where you would have him, but I think Edmonds for me would be more in the range of 20 to 25 in rankings at the running back position than
me too.
top 15.
He's probably in that range. And then you said James Conner.
Yeah. So what was his contract?
Conner was 3 at $21 million, so about $7 million a year. But bonuses could get it up to like 22.5, I think, or 22.7, something in that range.
Okay.
So a little bit more. I think he's. I got an alert, but it's just Matthew Slater.
I got sweaty.
Yeah, I think. Where did Conner finish last year?
Connor
was a top 10 running back, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was top 10. I think he was number 6, but I'm going to pull that up for you now.
Yeah, so I think he, I'm not sure he's going to finish that high again because he just benefited. 5. So he was 5th. Yeah. He benefited from some guys being hurt, and he had a lot of touchdowns. But if he's the workhorse there, we said this last year, he could be just playing the Kenyon Drake in that offense.
Yeah.
He's going to do that again. I do think they're going to have someone kind of replace him, the Chase Edmonds role, whether that's Benjamin, or they draft somebody in like the 3rd round or something, or they bring J.D. McKissick in, someone like that. But Connor's still going to get the bulk of the work in Arizona, and I think you said top 15. I think that's a real possibility for him again. He's a solid RB2
for Edmonds or
for James Conner.
Oh yeah,
I think James Conner's a solid high, maybe even a high end RB2. I would say a mid to high end RB2 for the Cardinals, which is pretty good, especially if you had him in Dynasty and you were just stashing him.
Last year too, it's not even like the average points per game total. Like he reached the top 5 because he outplayed, or he played in every game and, got to that level.
He had 16 points per game.
He had 16 points per game, which is number 5 in the league in fantasy football. Right. So at the running back.
My only concern is I think he had like 16 touchdowns.
Yes.
I don't know if he's going to get 16 touchdowns again.
My thing is that the fact that they let Chase Edmonds walk and they re-signed James Conner. I was going to say James Robinson. James Conner.
He had 18 touchdowns last year.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think there is going to be a little bit regression in the, like, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 running back, and I don't think people should draft him as that. I don't think people should rank him as that, obviously. But what I will say is, and I don't even know where he right now is ranked. I mean, obviously changing circumstances, so the ECR is a little bit different, but at the running back position, he was ranked 25th.
RB 25, yeah. RB 25.
But when you look at James Conner, like, I think he has a higher ceiling than Chase Edmonds does in terms of what the opportunity is, and I do think there's going to be regression at the running back position. But now that we know it's more likely that he is going to withhold that same role that he had last year with him, if they don't add anyone, maybe a little bit more work. I think that there could be a higher ceiling for him in terms of, like, I think he maxes out at like 5 or 6, but I think having him in the top 15 around 12, 13, or 14 is not a horrible place for him. And I think being back with the Cardinals is the perfect spot for him. I am a little bit more concerned with health on his end, while I have that same feeling about Chase Edmonds. So, I think both of those guys they took a step forward and a step in the right direction for both of their fantasy outlooks. And I remember when we were talking about James Conner earlier in the season, earlier in the offseason, when the season ended, we were like, this guy was top 5. How the heck did that happen? You know what I mean? Like, is this going to continue? And I think we got a little bit more, some more questions answered, obviously, today with him signing there. So I'm excited to see where he goes. There have been a plethora of offensive lineman signings. I'm not going to say names because it doesn't really matter that much, but the Bengals added...
Breaking news?
Ooh, what? Can you not do that to me? You're scaring the frig out of me.
We have actual breaking... It does not involve the Patriots, so...
Don't say
Christian Kirk is expected to sign a large deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars, according to Ian Rappaport.
All right, well, let's talk about that now. The Jacksonville Jaguars did sign a very
So that means DJ Chark is gone. He is pretty much DJ Chark's replacement.
Interesting. Rondale Moore to the moon? I hope.
Rondale Moore. Oh, yeah, true, because the card... Yeah, I mean... I've been holding on to him. He's going to be involved. I think Kirk. He says a large deal. So this, I mean, we're going to see. But the Jaguars clearly view Christian Kirk and Ian Rappaport, the two of them, both tweeted it.
I'm looking at the wrong account. Adam, you are no longer the king of the NFL.
So that's an interesting one. I think it's good for Christian Kirk's value. I think he's kind of an overrated player. To be honest, but the Jaguars could still use as much help as they can at wide receiver and other spots. So if I don't know, it's good for Kirk. I don't know how good it is for the offense, but he's going to definitely be fantasy relevant this year with that kind of contract.
Yeah. Interesting. Christian Kirk, man, you know what? That scares me a little bit. Because now that makes every other wide receiver on the market way more valuable. Especially if his contract is, quote, huge.
Yeah, according to Ian Rappaport, it's Christian Kirk to a large deal per me and Tom Pelissero.
Well, for fantasy purposes.
Right. Trevor Lawrence, that's a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I honestly, it's kind of the same to me.
I know.
I actually kind of think Chark is slightly better.
I think Chark is better. I think Chark is better than Christian Kirk.
I don't know.
It's better than losing Chark for nothing, right?
I know. So I don't know how it affects Trevor Lawrence. I think if Lawrence does take a step forward this year, the Jaguars, who've already signed a offensive lineman, which I'll add that in here now, it does help improve the offense a little bit. And Trevor Lawrence, I think, is going to take a step forward next year. It's just how much is Christian Kirk going to be able to maneuver in an offense like we've talked about DJ Chark for 3 years now, 4 years, of him being this breakout wide receiver. And we've talked about even Laviska being this breakout wide receiver. And I think this actually means some really good things for Laviska too.
I actually like that for Laviska, yeah.
I look at this situation. If they don't bring Chark back, which is the assumption, considering if this contract really is large, I'm not expecting them to go out and sign another guy. I don't know what this looks like for Chark. I mean, for Christian Kirk, I think Kirk would be a top 20 wide receiver. That is probably where I would have him if Trevor Lawrence is good. If Trevor Lawrence sucks still, that would really kill Chark. I keep calling him Chark. Christian Kirk's value. So Kirk would end up probably somewhere in the low end wide receiver 3 range for me. So for fantasy, it really depends on what Trevor Lawrence does. And I want to see, what happens through the draft for Jacksonville. If they keep adding, offensive line pieces, they, obviously double down on James Robinson, and they also have Travis Etienne coming back. Like, they got some weapons there. I think things could open up for Kirk. So top 20, top 25 is not out of the question for me. It just depends on the play of the quarterback. So that is where I'm kind of hung up on that. But that's interesting. Interesting signing.
Yeah. This guy did tweet that he thinks Christian Kirk would play in the slot, which would kill Laviska, and they could bring back DJ Chark.
That's kind of what I was thinking. But if the contract is huge for Christian Kirk, then why?
Yeah.
Like, why would you're wasting, they have a lot of cap space, I will say that, but you're,
no, I agree with you. I think
it doesn't make sense to me. So
if you're signing Kirk to a huge deal, the expectation is Chark would be gone.
Would be walking away. And I don't, Kirk does play that slot inside role. He did it for him, and Hopkins did it for the Cardinals. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Leave it to the Jags to overpay for a second-rate wide receiver.
I know. I'm glad the Patriots didn't throw a bazillion dollars.
Yeah, that's fair. So, like I was saying too, the Bengals added, and is there any other free? Why don't you scour for more free agency news that relates to fantasy?
Yeah, I'm looking.
But offensive line, the Jets signed an offensive lineman from, I think, a backup offensive lineman to a ridiculous contract from the 49ers. So they're trying to bolster their offensive line for Zach Wilson, which is good. I don't know how much the Jets they're such a bad franchise. I don't know how much they're going to be able to do this offseason for Zach Wilson to improve without making trades or, anything like that. So
they have 2 top 10 picks.
They do have 2 top 10 picks. So there will be improvements there, but I just don't know that, if you're a free agent, unless the Jets are offering you a monster contract, you're not going to New York Jets. So, as far as the Bengals are concerned, they look to be making moves on the offensive line. They signed Ted Karras. I believe they signed another offensive lineman. And I would imagine that they're going to draft one. Adding 3 or 4 guys to that offensive line at this point is very, very good for Joe Burrow and that offense. Because what they did this year with basically nothing, Joe Mixon was a top 7 running back. Joe Burrow was a top 12 quarterback in fantasy football. Jamar Chase was top 3, top 5 at the wide receiver position, right?
Top 5, yeah.
T. Higgins was top, I think, 20. And you see what they can do with no offensive line. You add an offensive line, you give Joe Burrow some time. I don't know. That offense is going to be potent, and I think it's going to be one of the highest scoring offenses in the AFC. And very, very good for fantasy. So I like what they're doing so far in free agency. We'll have to see where that goes. But as far as that is concerned, some defensive guys have gone. We don't care about that. But is there anyone else out there, Rick, that you wanted to hit on?
Not really fantasy relevant. Some offensive line pieces are moving around. but no other than unless you count Braxton Barrios, no other receivers have gone.
Where did Barrios go again?
Position.
I'm sorry, I just totally blanked.
He re-signed with the Jets.
Oh, what the hell?
He stayed with the Jets.
Why would you do that? Why? Of all things, Braxton, you're in the free agent market. People are going to pay you money, and you say, I'm going back to the Jets.
Brother, Jets are building something special.
Great.
Don't worry about it. The Bills did just sign an offensive lineman from Tennessee, a guard.
Okay.
Apparently, he's a good run blocker, but he's kind of old.
Okay.
And then, some defensive players got signed, but nothing fancy relevant yet. Do we want to start tight ends? And then
let's start tight ends, and then as things come along, we'll talk about it because we're already 20 minutes in the show. But anyway, all right. I'm having trouble today with these wires. I just knocked my headset off. Let's talk about some tight ends now. We're going to rank our top 5 tight ends for 2022. Usually after 5 at this point, there is 6 or 7 really good tight ends. I think, there's going to be guys that are drafted after our top 5. You have guys like Hawkinson.
Yes, Hawkinson is, you could make the argument, should be in our top 5.
Dallas Goedert, Dawson Knox,
Dalton Schultz with Amari Cooper gone.
Yeah, there's some, and they also, what's his name is gone.
Blake
Jarwin's gone. So
they're fully committed to Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, so there's some good things at the tight end position, but I think after the top 6 or 7, there is kind of like a drop off. So ranking 10 tight ends really doesn't, like, we're going to have a full tight end ranking set that you'll be able to see. But as of right now, we're going to give you 5 tight ends on this show. So let's start with the tight end 1, which is Travis Kelsey. I believe. Let me just pull that up because
he is.
I'm speaking out of my face. Travis Kelsey is the tight end 1. Now, his best ranking is 1. His worst ranking is 3.
So we're not the craziest people.
We're not the craziest people on the planet. But we both have Travis Kelsey ranked at 2. Rick, give me your thoughts as to why Travis Kelsey should be number 2 and not number 1.
Well,
for the first time ever.
He finished as the tight end 2 this year. And he was very good, but he wasn't the same player that everybody said he was. He wasn't the 101 in redraft like some people on Twitter thought he was. Again, very, very good season. Still a top-notch tight end, but was the tight end 2. And at age 32, he's going to be 33 years old this season. I just don't see him finishing as the tight end 1 again. Still, obviously, he's Travis Kelsey. He's in the Chiefs offense. He's going to have big games, good production on a weekly basis. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's 2 guys that finish ahead of him and he finishes as tight end 3. Still a top 3 tight end, though. And he's still a solid, safe play. But he's just not number 1.
Yeah, it's hard because it scares me a little because Kelsey has been Kelsey, and there's really nothing like this past season. He had a few more injuries than he normally has.
He only missed 1 game though.
But he only missed 1 game, and there really hasn't been anything that's to suggest that Kelsey.
His production went way down from 2020 to 2021.
Yeah, and I think that's due more to the fact it's interesting because you saw, like we talked about Tyreek Hill's numbers, how he every year has increased in the category of target share, but he's decreased in the yards per catch category. And I think similar things are happening to Travis Kelsey where more target share is being shifted from Kelsey to Hill, and they're utilizing Hill in shorter concepts than, Kelsey's kind of just a boulder that runs across the middle of the field that they can get open using two types of routes, and people still can't cover the guy because he's good. I don't think he's dead, but he's going to be 33 years old when the season starts. And around 33 years old. I guess. He'll be 33, right? When's his friggin' birthday?
It's October.
Either way, he's old. So he's going to be 33 during the NFL season this year. And I think the big thing with Travis Kelsey is that as he gets older and as he ages, his body's not going to be able to withstand and hold up to NFL, hits. And we saw when Gronk is basically the same age as him, but towards the back end, and people look at Gronk very differently than they look at Travis Kelsey. Like, Kelsey's still a top tight end, and Gronk is the same age, and he's at the bottom. So
true.
For me, it's like, you look at Travis Kelsey, he's been in the league for a while. I think it's 8-9 years at this point. He's on the older side of it, and I still think he's a top 5 tight end because he's on the Chiefs and they throw it to him a lot. But I don't know if he's still that number one bona fide, automatic, stick him in your back pocket, tight end. And I think that there are some other guys that are ascending into that category, and Kelsey will probably start to fade out of that. For Dynasty, I'm selling him in any league I have him in, just because it's time. And if you can go out and get somebody significantly better, that is good too. So for me, Kelsey is number 2 just for that pure fact that I don't know if he can be the tight end 1 and where he's getting drafted. See, the way I look at my rankings is I don't just look at them as this is where I think a guy is going to finish, but it's also I don't really want this player on my team, so I'm not going to draft them as such. You know what I mean? And it's not like I'm saying I don't want Travis Kelsey, but I'm not going to draft him in the top 12, the top 24, knowing that he's on the decline of his career. It's not worth it to me. So putting him number 2 makes it physically impossible for me to draft him.
I mean, I just went back and looked at some of the greatest tight ends in recent memory. Greg Olsen, Antonio Gates. Greg Olsen's last great year he was age 31, so a little younger than Kelsey.
Yep.
Antonio Gates' last great year, he was age 34, so a little bit older.
Yep.
But it's around that time. It's early 30s. Once you're tight end, you hit 32, 33, 34. At some point, he's just going to drop off. And it's going to happen sooner than later. And I'm not even saying he's dropping off this year. All I'm saying is
it's time to look at it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I'm interested to see what Kelsey does this year. Like I said, still got a quarterback by the name of Patrick Mahomes, still gets a heavy target share. So not really concerned about Kelsey yet, but I don't think he's worth a first or second round pick. I think he's more worth that third, fourth round range if you want to draft a tight end early. So let's move on to the next guy, and the ECR has him number 2. We have him number 1, so he's overtaken Travis Kelsey, and it's Mark Andrews. And we've spent some time talking about Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch over there. Baltimore clearly likes to use these tight ends. This offseason, I've referenced snap percentage increasing year on year. So back in 2019, I believe was his first breakout season. He had a snap share of 43%. 2020, he had a snap share of 64%. 2021, snap share of 76%. So year on year, he's been increasing. His target shares have been increasing. I think this is your new tight end 1. Do I think he's going to be a bona fide, definitely finish tight end 1 next year? I don't know. I don't think Kelsey's a ridiculous talent. It's like back in the Gronk days when Brady and Gronk played and Gronk was in his prime. You just took Gronk every year 1 because you knew he was going to be 1. Kelsey's been that same. I don't know if Mark Andrews is that. We'll see over the next couple years if that's the case. But he's my number 1 at this point because I think he's the most trustworthy tight end at this point.
Yeah, I am so tempted to put somebody else at number 1. But as of right now, I'm going to put Mark Andrews as number 1 as well. Yeah, you know who it is. After the year he just had, it's hard not to. 153 targets is insane. He was the tight end 1 this year. And even if you look back historically, it was a pretty good season. I mean, in 2019, Travis Kelsey was number 1 in fantasy points with 205 fantasy points. He did play an extra game, but Mark Andrews this year with 235 fantasy points. So, and then the year before, Travis Kelsey, 2020, he had an insane year. 2018, 243. So it's around the same total as other tight end 1 finishes. So it's not like he just had a random fluke year. Like Mark Andrews did have a very solid season. And you made some great points about his snap percentage going up every year. His target share has pretty much gone up every year. He played some of this year without Lamar Jackson, which is key to note. The only thing I'll say is I think with Dobbins coming back and with Lamar, it's going to be, again, a run-heavy offense. And I think Rashad Bateman might have a bigger role. There's been already early offseason hype about Rashad Bateman having a bigger role in the offense. So those are things to look out for with Andrews, and could hurt him as finishing as the tight end 1. But either way, I think he's a top 3 tight end in fantasy.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next guy. We're blowing through these guys, which is good. We're getting prepared for the 10 QB show. Hopefully we can, expediently get through that. But anyway, number 3, and this is consensus at this point. And this guy, his best rank is 1. His worst rank is 4 at this point. The standard deviation is basically 1 rank. So there's some variation here with others in terms of where he gets ranked. But it is Kyle Pitts, number 3. Atlanta, sticking with Matt Ryan is what it looks like. Calvin Ridley is, whether he stays or he goes, he has got a full season to sit on his couch and watch football and gamble if he would like to. I don't know if can you do that? Is that still breaking rules?
I think it is. That's how I got in this mess in the first place.
So much temptation. You give him a whole year off. That doesn't teach him a lesson.
Yeah, then he'll be banned for life.
Yeah, so regardless of what happens this offseason with Calvin Ridley, it's most likely he's not going to play in the 2022 campaign. So with that being said, there's no one else there. It's like a barren landscape over there in Atlanta, and there's one guy rising from the ashes, and his name is Kyle Pitts. He had the best tight end season ever, finishing as the...
For a rookie.
For a rookie. Yeah, I should say for a rookie. I'm an idiot. Finishing as the tight end 7. And so he wasn't incredible.
And in 5.5 PPR.
I'm in half right now. Oh, are you looking at through 17 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at through 18 weeks. Well, either way. So he was very good last year, fell in the middle, kind of in the middle of the pack in terms of what the tight ends did. But I think this year, being literally the only target on the team, he's a tight end that I expect to get 140 to 150 targets in that offense. And he's going to be the red zone target. He's literally a tight end that got drafted in the top 5.
Yep.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Kyle Pitts is 3, but his ceiling is 1.
Yes.
And Rick, this is the guy Rick was talking about. He didn't even have to tell me. He didn't tell me pre-show. I know exactly who he's talking about, that he wants to rank 1. I like Kyle Pitts a lot this year. I think this is your biggest breakout, easiest breakout tight end. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if you call it a breakout at this point, because in sleeper leagues, I think he's getting drafted in the first round.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think. Wait, did you say he's getting drafted in the first round?
I did. Hold on a second. I'm looking. I meant the first 5 rounds.
Okay. All right. Good.
I did not mean to say in the first round.
Yeah, he as a rookie tight end, he had 1,000 receiving yards last year and 110 targets. The only reason he wasn't higher than tight end 7 was because he had just 1 touchdown. And I'm not saying in the Falcons offense he's going to get 10 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
But as the only target, he could get 5 or 6. And if he does that with an increased target share, so maybe he gets like 140 targets, maybe close to 100 receptions and 1,300 receiving yards, I mean, that's a top 3 tight end right there. Maybe top 2. Borderline number 1. And you just added a couple. He doesn't even need to have a monster touchdown year to finish as the tight end 1. I am so tempted to put this guy at tight end 1. The only reason I'm not is because of how bad that offense is. And he just really hasn't.
That bad. Like they're not
really
awful.
Hasn't done it.
Just mediocre.
The Falcons, no, I mean Cordell Patterson, I guess. But
they're mediocre.
The passing game really wasn't.
They're top 20.
They're like 20th. But sure, they're going to add a receiver, and I think, to be honest, it's a good thing if they add a receiver, because teams won't be hopefully double teaming Kyle Pitts all the time as their only guy. They need to add somebody. and it won't really threaten how much Pitts is. Pitts is going to be the number one guy in the offense, the number one target, no matter who they add.
Yeah.
So I do love Kyle Pitts. I think top 3 is almost a lock, to be honest, with how involved he's going to be in that offense.
Yeah, that's fair. And I also want to say, if sleeper ADP holds up, which I doubt it will, right now Kyle Pitts is going off the board as the 6th tight end at pick 67, which is
that's not holding him. There's no way. I'll take him.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, based on rankings and based on where people have him right now, that he's gonna be around pick 30 to 35, maybe even higher because people are crazy.
So I don't know how accurate this is because this guy has 20,000 followers. So take that for a grain of salt. But he's saying Christian Kirk's deal with the Jaguars is up to $17 million a year.
Sheesh. Good luck signing Allen Robinson, anybody.
Yeah, if that's
I'm gonna take a rookie tight end. I mean, a rookie wide receiver for the Pats.
Yeah, so that I'm okay with that, but then what are we doing at corner? J.C. Jackson. It's a whole. Yeah, I know.
Elliott Wolf's kind of screwing the coach up there.
Chargers or Jets?
Huh?
J.C. Jackson's top 2 destinations right now are Chargers and Jets.
Jets? Get out of here, you clown. What a joke. He's such a joke of a cornerback. Oh, God. I can't wait for the Jets to overpay him.
The Patriots offer him $12 million a year. He's going to get 20 in the open market. They're idiots.
The Pats or
both?
J.C. Jackson. He sucks. I don't want to pay $20 million for that guy.
He doesn't suck. He's not Darrelle Revis or Stephon Gilmore.
He's not worth top 5 corner money.
He's not worth top 5 corner money. No, but he's like make it at least a real offer. He's a top 20 corner in the league at worst.
Yeah. Yeah, but what is the 20th? What is the 15th to 20th corner getting paid? $12 million a year.
In the open market, though, I'm sure they would get like 16.
That's why the Pats aren't in. Anyway, I don't usually defend the Patriots on contracts and deals and stuff like that, Rick. But this one, I'm okay with because I do not like J.C. Jackson. He reminds me of Trayvon Diggs.
You need a top 20 corner to replace him. Good luck finding.
All right. Fancy football show. We just ranted about. We have. Was it 2 tight ends to get to?
Yeah, we got to do this.
All right. So the next guy.
I have the same 2 and just swapped.
Yes, the next guy on the ECR is George Kittle. I have George Kittle 5. Rick has George Kittle 4. We have our guys swapped. You know what, Rick? I don't disagree with you. I like Kelsey. I like Andrews. I like Pitts. And I would love to put George Kittle 4. Problem. How many games has George Kittle played over the last 3 years? Not a lot.
Maybe yeah.
And Jimmy's not there anymore. Most likely.
No, bro, we got Trey Lance.
Okay, I like Lance.
You like Lance?
I don't know. There's so many question marks with George Kittle. That's why I have him 5. I think I'm more concerned about injury than anything else. Like, I think Kittle's going to be Kittle, no matter what. But if we keep buying him as a top 3 tight end, and he keeps performing like a top 3 tight end, and then getting hurt and missing 10 games a season, it's not worth drafting him at that value. And so for me, I'm looking at Kittle and I'm like, all right, I'm going to put him 5 based on his injury history. And, I'm going to have to stick with that. And if he's on the board at my pick as a 5th tight end off the board, I'll smash that. But I don't think that's going to happen, A. And B, I am concerned about some of the things with George Kittle. And he is also, I don't think he's getting old, is he?
George Kittle?
Yeah, hold on. I'm looking it up now. He is currently age 28. So slightly older than some of the guys like Mark Andrews, who's 26 years old. But I think he's still got a lot in his career. He's just had so many injuries that he scares the crap out of me. His last year, his fantasy point per target was 2.8, which is great. That's number 4 at the tight end position. That would be pretty good for a regular wide receiver. So, I mean, target share is the biggest thing. If he gets a massive amount of targets, that would be great. But he misses a lot of time, and it's like, he had
he
14
does.
games in 2019, 8 in 2020, 14 in 2021. And it's like he's on and off the field so much that it's like, is it worth as a tight end? Like if you have a wide receiver and they miss 3 or 4 games, you're like, all right, whatever. If you have a tight end like George Kittle and you're constantly having to waste roster spots replacing him, it's kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I just think when they're on the field, Waller last year, 2020, had an amazing year and was like that. But for last season, when they were both on the field, Kittle was the better fantasy option. Waller averaged in a half PPR just 9.6 points per game last year. He's going to be 30 years old. I still like Waller, but I also have a soft spot for Kittle. I think he's the best tight end in the league.
Yeah. Not
fantasy wise, but just in the NFL. But when he's out there, I know he misses some time, and that's a valid point. But look, if I can get 14 games out of Kittle, I'll probably take that.
Mm-hmm.
You just have 2 weeks where you're going to have to substitute somebody in his spot. But he was tight end 4, I believe, last year in points per game, while Darren Waller was tight end 7. So, Waller also missed some time last year with some injuries. It has had an injury past. Not to the extent of Kittle, but it's there. If you're telling me they're going to average the same amount they did this year in points per game, and Kittle's just going to miss 2 games, I'll probably still take Kittle. But it's close. I mean, you could go back and forth with these guys.
Yeah, and I think it definitely is close. Oh my God, Waller's 29. Freaking A guy. I can't. That's not real.
He is. Waller's 29.
Yikes.
He's gonna be 30 this year.
Well, that gives up the next guy, which is Darren Waller, number 5 on the ECR. Rick obviously reverse spots, so Rick has him 5. I have him 4. I honestly think the coaching staff change here in Las Vegas is going to make a big difference. They're going to shift to something similar to what the Patriots have been running for years, because it's the offense the Patriots was running was not Bill Belichick's offense. I mean, people are probably going to be like, what are you talking about? It's Josh McDaniels' offense that Tom Brady helped build. That's what he's bringing to the Raiders. And the Raiders are going to go tight end heavy. 2 tight ends on the field. Rick told me before the show Foster Moreau is going to get like 28 catches.
Yeah, Foster Moreau.
So, but I think Waller is going to get targeted similarly, maybe a little bit more than Hunter Henry was this past year, except Waller's better. And I think the Raiders' offense is more experienced than what the Pats had last year. So I think what Waller has done in the past is really not going to change. And last year he had 93 targets. He only played in 11 games. So obviously he missed some time, but he's on pace there for 150 targets. And if he hits that, he gets the catch rate. Derek Carr is very consistent with his play, and you see more red zone opportunities for Darren Waller. He catches more than 2 receiving touchdowns. He's going to be in the conversation of top 4, top 3. And people are going to be like, this is great. I also am concerned now that I see his age with Darren Waller. But we'll have to see. So it really, like Rick said, it could go either way with both of these guys. But I do like Waller a little bit better.
Really quickly, because we went through our tight ends. What's his name? Tom Pelissero?
Yeah.
On NFL Network just said that Allen Robinson, right now the 3 teams.
Yeah, the Lions, the Browns,
and
the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs. But not the Patriots. It's unfortunate.
I don't get it.
DJ Shaq.
Okay, so you're going to go to the Browns, and you're going to basically be the same wide receiver as Amari Cooper.
Sense. The Browns only if he gets paid, but the Chiefs, I mean,
Lions.
So the Lions.
Do people care about winning anymore? Or is it all about money?
Okay, bro. Not every player in the NFL has ever only cared about. That's what free agency is all about. It's
everyone does it now. Braxton Barrios literally went back to the Jets. He went back to hell because they paid him all extra dough.
How many times? Okay, so you would rather everybody take cheap contracts to go to the Chiefs and to the Bills?
No, but there's back in the past there was some people who wanted to it's like People make their bank in the first 10 years of the career when they're in their prime, and then they realize, frick, I got to
a guy
try
like
to win a
Allen
championship.
Robinson, I think, should go to a good situation over money. But I mean, it's not like Christian Kirk
He
is like
should go to the Chiefs. That's probably where he'll end up. But the
if
Chiefs
Christian
aren't gonna
Kirk
pay him.
gets offered $17 million to the Jaguars, you take it. Like, it depends on the
If
player.
you're Christian Kirk, yes. Somebody's gonna overpay for you. Then do it.
I'm never gonna hate the player for taking the money.
You're right. You're right. I'm just sick of it.
I get it though. With
I
Allen
want
Robinson,
to watch
like,
good players on, like, not that Braxton Barrios is a good player, but I want to watch good players on good football teams. I don't want to watch them like
I do agree.
Christian Kirk. If the Jacksonville Jaguars blow and they overpaid, then we don't get to watch Christian Kirk with a good quarterback. We get to watch Christian Kirk with a terrible franchise with a quarterback who's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
We don't get to watch Braxton Barrios play in a team where he's actually going to get target share and be good, and he's going to be on the Jets where he sucks. Allen Robinson signs with the Detroit Lions. You going to be watching more Detroit Lions games, Rick?
I actually will be, unfortunately. Not by choice.
Yeah, not by choice. But, like, do you see what I'm saying? I'd rather see Allen Robinson play with Patty Mahomes than play with Baker Mayfield or Jared
So you're
Goff.
saying you want Allen Robinson to sign with the Chiefs?
No, I'm saying...
I'm sorry. I would rather him go with the Lions.
That for him, yeah, he would probably get more target share on the Lions.
No, for the sake of New England. And if for the sake of the Chiefs winning
New
another
England's
Super Bowl.
out. We're not paying him. He's going to get $25 million a year.
Oh, boy. So we're not paying anyone. We're not paying J.C. Jackson, who is on our team. We're not paying Robinson. We're not paying Amari Cooper.
We're going to trade for Ridley and hope for 2023.
No, we're going to sign MVS. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He's going to be the big guy, the big fish. $12 million a year to the Pats. If that happens, and we sign MVS and do nothing, I'm officially for 1 year not a Patriots fan. My allegiance is to the Detroit Lions.
Bro, we got 6 Super Bowls. Like, people don't even care. They're like,
it's just, gosh, it's just so frustrating.
To everyone who's made it this far in the podcast, because we gotta wrap it up. But as Patriots fans, we enjoyed our many years of success, but we hold our teams to higher standards than the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just got Christian Kirk, and they're probably lit down there in Jacksonville. They're like,
they're lit.
Let's go. If they have a fan base. So, like, to me, a lot of the times, the Patriots have had a long history of bringing in either old cheap guys who end up outperforming their contract because Bill gets the most out of them, or we draft somebody, they stay on the team, and then they end up leaving because we don't want to pay them that much money. And then last year they spent a ton of money, and so now the expectations
Nelson Aguilar.
We got Hunter Henry and Matt Judon and
those are good signings.
We got some good signings. But anyway, so there's higher expectations, but it is annoying after watching the Patriots for years where the only big time one wide receiver that we've ever acquired is Randy Moss in 20 years.
Yep. I don't even need a Randy Moss level. Can we get like a B+? Because to me last
Brandon
year,
Cooks.
Yeah, I mean, I would take that. I would take a Brandon Cooks because last year, to me, Nelson Aguilar was a D level signing. That's a D level. And it makes it worse that they gave him $13 million. Kendrick Bourne, in hindsight, is a B, probably a low B,
Rick,
B minus.
Okay.
But at the time, felt like a C+. All
right, would you say Christian Kirk is better or worse than Nelson
who?
Aguilar?
Better. He's better.
By how much?
100%.
I agree
100%.
with you. By how much?
$5 million worth, $6 million worth.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't think the open market.
I know, and I don't think Kirk is good. This is just more of a how bad I think Nelson Aguilar is.
Aguilar, what is he getting? 12, 13?
Yeah, he's getting 13.
If he hits incentives,
I think it was 13.
His base contract is like 9,
11. I think it's 11. I think it's 10
so basically
or 11.
market value is what we gave Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah. I wouldn't pay Nelson Aguilar more than like $6 million. or $5 million, to be honest. That's just
You hate Nelson Aguilar.
I think Braxton Barrios. I would rather bet. Yeah, I mean, I think he's not a top 50 receiver in the NFL. I don't even think he's top 60, to be honest. I'm not. I'm literally not. I've said this for years. This is not me being a Patriots downer.
I know.
This is just my thoughts on the player.
Rick needs some help. He needs some. We're gonna have to get off this podcast and console. He's losing his mind. It's like
it's only because we're talking about Nelson.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, there you have it. Some free agency talk, some tight end rankings, a lot of good stuff on this show. On Thursday's show, we'll get some, if things happen, we'll get them to you breaking news live on the show and talk about them. But we're going to give you our top 10 quarterbacks for 2022. Be sure to check it out. See you later, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.